Alright, moving on to the Death Arcana, this is the highest level of Thanatos. Thanatos is basically the personification of death, and the association with Hypnos, the god of sleep, is basically synonymous with death being eternal sleep. In Pantheon.org, they described him as kind of like a youth with huge wings and also bearing a sword, which is probably what stems into this description, except the wings look more like thin coffins. And it is said that basically he is responsible as kind of like the Grim Reaper. He's supposed to collect the dead, basically. He collects the hair of the beards of the dead and brings them to Hades. So, basically he's the one who retrieves the souls of the dead and brings them to the underworld. And the other description with butterflies and the inverted torch is consistent with the description. Alice, didn't exactly bother to find, because I'm sure this stems from Lewis Carroll's books, Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass, etc. I don't know what links them directly with death, as I haven't really read the books. So whatever the case is, I know that in Imagine she's classified as one of the fiends. And is I think one of the fiends that is weak to expel, like she is in this game. Also, she's in Devil Summoner, but I have not found her yet, so we're gonna wait and see once I do find her, because I'll try seeing if I can get her. Okay, next one, Mott. The description is pretty unusual, but I think it's kind of clear that the description is associating with the fact that basically the god of fertility kind of dies for half the year, aka Baal, and is reborn again as he's brought back from Mott. But according to what I found in my mythical resources, Mott actually refused to surrender Baal's soul to Anat. So ultimately, what happened was Anat kills Mott and basically grounds him to death under a millstone. But I think the description is again associated with the change of seasons, as spring and summer is associated with fertility, and autumn and winter is associated with death. So moving on to the next one. Samael, description is very brief. All they said is basically the demon of volcanoes and also of Mars, but other than that, they really didn't say much about him. He is often called Poison of God, which is the thing here. And this was also what a user told me this was based on. But other than that, I didn't really find much of anything about him. And it comes to no surprise. So, if there's anything you want to add to this, feel free to, because since my resources are often incomplete, I'm willing to welcome anybody who wants to comment or add additions to this that I have not touched on or must have missed. So, let's see, next one is Loa. Basically, Loa is the name of, it's pretty much the West Indian version of any form of deity. And this can also stem from deities from African descent carried in from the slave trade. But also, it can also be associated with Christian saints as well. So, Loa is basically a vague term that isn't often associated with death, but it's also associated sometimes with using this as the power to manipulate people, I think, from what it's described. So, okay. Moving on to the next one. Let's see. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Oh yeah, Pale Rider. He is one of the fiends in Nocturne, but in this description, they're associated him with the Angel of Death, basically one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. But I think this description also, or the depiction of the Grim Reaper, so to speak, kind of stems a little bit. This is probably coincidental, but it kind of stems from a deity called Don Daka, which is from Irish myth or Celtic myth, and he is basically a phantom that rides on a horse, and he brings knowledge to the dead, basically to tell them how to get to paradise, basically to get to the other world. But he's also associated with oceans, with shipwrecks, also with cattle. So I don't know if that is what originally described the depiction of the Grim Reaper, but I thought it was pretty close. And the last one, Ghoul, is very, very, very vague. The description kind of makes sense actually because the name Ghoul actually stems from Persian and also Muslim myth. But as for what it is, and as for many descriptions, all they just said about it is a fiend. Basically, a monster that. As for the rest, it's kind of hard to actually describe because usually Ghoul is often associated with something akin to like a zombie or something like a reanimated corpse. But I couldn't find much to add to that. So again, if you want to add more to this, the comments are open, so I will not turn you away. And that pretty much does it with the Death Arcana, so I'm gonna finish this up here and move on.